Hello, beautiful, gorgeous souls. Welcome back to another Mental Health Monday. If you have been here for a bit, you may have noticed that every Mental Health Monday I am wearing a new bandana. Because one of my followers mentioned it once and I said I will show all of them. So here's another one of my bandanas. Another one from my collection. So there you go. But yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. If you are here, it's probably because, you've been told something like you're too sensitive, or you overthink everything, or you feel too much. And maybe, you've started to become this way. But I just want to start this episode with one truth. Feeling deeply is not a flaw, and it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not a weakness. It's not something to fix. Okay, when you change your perspective, it's actually a gift, even if at times it feels like a heavy one to carry. One thing that you should always remember is that everything in life is a balance. All right, so feeling deeply is a spectrum. You'll be able to feel a whole range of, deep positive emotions, but then you also may have these negative ones that may appear at random times. So I guess some people may say feeling deeply can be a gift or a curse, Here, if you want to think of it this way, I've always explained it like this. So here is the baseline, right, for emotions. If you are able to feel this happy, you are able to feel the same equivalent amount of sad, right, down here. So if you feel only this happy, you'll only be able to feel this sad. You'll never be able to feel this sad unless you are able to feel this happy. It is very hard to wrap your mind around, but today we are going to be diving into the emotional world of deep feelers. If you have ever been overwhelmed by your emotions or exhausted by the emotions of others, this episode is for you, okay? For all of my lovely, beautiful empaths out there. And I am one of them, I will tell you that. What is a deep feeler, you may ask? You might also hear the terms like highly sensitive person, or empath, like I said, or emotionally intuitive, all right? But at the core of all of these labels is one truth. Your nervous system registers emotions more intensely, all right? So you feel joy in full color, right? And pain like it echoes through your bones. All right, like I said, it's a spectrum. You notice the subtlest shift in someone's tone, all right? That tiny hesitation, the slight edge in their voice that others might miss, right? It's like your senses are dialed in way beyond the surface. You don't just hear words, you feel the undercurrent and energy behind them. All right, does anybody feel this way? Because I do, and I thought everybody felt this way, but no, it's not true. Not everybody feels this way. So if you feel this way, it is something different. You are a highly sensitive person, and that's, like I said, nothing to be ashamed of. You pick up on tension in a room long before anyone says a single word. You sense the unspoken feelings, the invisible cracks between people, the energy that others try to hide. Sometimes it feels like you're carrying the emotional weight of everyone around you. Does this sound like anybody? Any one of you? Does this sound like you? All right, if you're watching this, tell me if this sounds like you. Because if it does, then this is the video for you. Even strangers passing by, you could feel their energy. But that emotional load can weigh heavy, leaving you feeling drained or isolated. All right, so that's why it's important to know if you are this type of person, because you need to balance that self-care out so you can get your energy back, right? And those conversations, they just don't fade away when you leave the room. You replay them again and again in your head. And it's not because you're being dramatic, or overthinking for no reason, but because you care, okay? You want to understand what really happens. You want to find the words that you wish you said. You want to make sense of the feelings that are complicated and raw. Does this sound like anybody else? Because I am just speaking from experience and what I have learned. Caring can come at a cost. When you care this deeply, it's exhausting. It's overwhelming. And you can get stuck in a cycle where your heart is running on overdrive and your mind will not quiet down.
Cheers. Grab a drink, grab a refreshment, and buckle in, folks, because it's going to be a wild ride today.
When you care so much, it can be so beautiful, you know, but it can leave you feeling very vulnerable. And without the right boundaries or support, it can take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. So you need to watch out. Let's get into the psychology of things, because this is very interesting. You know, people that feel deeply, like empaths, you know, often have more active mirror neurons in their brain. So this means that you literally feel other people's emotions in your own body, okay? These are special cells in your brain, you know, that allow us to intuitively mirror or experience what others are feeling, okay? So think of mirror neurons as the brain's built-in empathy switch. When you see someone smile, your brain lights up as if you're smiling as well. When someone's in pain, your body reacts almost as if it's in your own pain, all right? Sometimes physically, like a tightness in your chest or a sinking feeling in your stomach. You know, have you ever felt that way when someone that you know has been hurt? You know, you can feel their pain. For deep feelers, this system is like supercharged. Okay? So you don't just intellectually understand what others feel, you embody their emotions. All right? So you might walk into a room, instantly pick up on tension or sadness, and it settles in your body before you even consciously realize what is happening. This heightened emotional resonance means that you are wired to connect deeply with people. All right? It's a beautiful gift, you know, that makes you compassionate, intuitive, and profoundly understanding, okay? But it can also mean that your emotional boundaries are thinner than most, leaving you vulnerable in emotional overwhelm, you know? When someone else's anxiety or sadness floods your system, it can be hard, you know, to separate their feelings from your own. But, you know, you have to learn to compartmentalize, you know? And my therapist back in the day taught me, you know, some things you just have to put in a box and put it back on the shelf. Don't worry about it until you need to talk about it. Then take it off the shelf and then talk about it. But other than that, don't carry it with you in your everyday life. If it's a burden, a heavy trauma that happened with you, whatever, put it on a shelf, put it away, okay? You do not need to carry on to that. You know, that's why self-care and emotional regulation is so crucial for deep feelers, you know, because our nervous systems are not just reacting to our lives, but absorbing the emotional currents of everyone around you, all right? So understanding your mirror neurons honestly helps explain why you sometimes feel drained after social interactions, or why like certain environments, you know, leave you feeling emotionally raw. You're not just present, you're physically absorbing the emotional energy of others. All right, and that is something so crucial to understand. Your brain is wired for empathy, and that is so beautiful, all right? But on the flip side, it can also leave you wide open to emotional burnout, compassion fatigue, and internal chaos, all right? And when you don't know how to regulate all of that intensity, you start thinking something's wrong with you, right? But nothing is wrong with you, okay? I want to reassure you, nothing is wrong with you at all. You know, what's missing is safety and space and tools, not shame. We do not have any space for shame in our lives, all right? To my becomers out there, say it with me. I am not ashamed of who I am, all right? I'm proud of who I am, and I will embrace my weirdness. I'm a weirdo, and I don't care. I don't care what people think, because I'm just being me. So I want to mention that there's a unique kind of ache that comes with being a deep feeler. You know, you care deeply, so when someone hurts you, it cuts so deep. You know, other people may think, oh, that's nothing. What the person did to you, what the fuck, that's nothing. But you know, it cuts so deep for you. You feel it so much more than other people. You know, you dream big. So when things don't work out, the disappointment hits harder than most, right? And you know, you also love hard. So when people pull away, it feels like abandonment, right? You feel like they're gonna leave you. So, you know, it's so hard being a deep feeler. It is amazing feeling these like positive, great emotions, but you know, it's also so hard to deal with it on the negative side, right? But that same intensity, you know, it's also the reason why people feel safe around you, right? It's why your presence is healing. Your words resonate. And your art of storytelling touches people in ways that they can't explain. All right, does this sound like you? Because, you know, you gotta look at the bright side of things and, you know, be grateful for who you are and all of your amazing traits, because you're an amazing person. Ask other people and they will say that. You know, the very thing that makes life painful also makes it meaningful. You're not broken. You're just tuned in. I want to talk about how to protect your energy without losing your softness, all right? Here's the part that most deep feelers struggle with, all right? So how do I protect myself without shutting down, you may ask? How do I stop absorbing everything while still staying true to who I am? That is such an amazing question, all right? And that's what I had to learn, you know? So I want to talk about some tools that have helped me along my journey of being a deep feeler. So emotional boundaries are very, very, very important, all right? So you can care without carrying, all right? So you can witness someone else's pain without making it your own. You know, practice saying, I hear you. That sounds hard. What do you need from me? You know, that keeps you from overgiving or overfixing. Another trick that I have for you guys is to pause before you absorb. I said that very weird. Absorb. When something triggers you, you know, emotionally, pause and ask yourself, is this mine to hold? Is this coming from me? Or am I absorbing someone else's storm? That is such an important question, okay, to ask yourself, because we often carry other people's feelings without even noticing it, and that's why we feel crappy throughout the day, or something triggers us and it's not ours to hold on to, you know? So this is something very important to understand. Also, to move that energy, all right? So feeling deeply means that you need outlets. You need outlets to move that art through. Not that. I'm gonna cut this out because what am I saying? So journaling, art, movement, talking it out, whatever helps you release it, all right? Just don't bottle it up. Energy that doesn't move becomes pain. So take that energy and use it for good, all right? To better yourself, to create something. We are humans. We are made on this planet to create, all right? And all we do is consume. We need to start creating, okay, and evolving into the best versions of ourselves. And my last and final tip for you guys would be to give yourself permission to be soft, all right? This world teaches us, you know, to toughen up, to not let things get to us, but you do not have to be hard to be strong, all right? Your softness is sacred. Your softness is sacred. It's a form of strength the world desperately needs, all right? So do not lose your spark, okay? Because it's beautiful, all right? Don't follow others that have dimmed their light just because everyone's doing it and you want to fit in with the crowd. Be that sparkle that stands out, all right? Because that is you. Don't change for anybody else. If you've ever felt like you were too much, let this be a reminder that you are not too much, all right? You have just never been in spaces that could fully hold you. Shall I say that again, folks? You are not too much. You have just never been in spaces that could truly and fully hold you, okay? Your feelings are not liabilities. They're data, they're power, all right? They're proof that your heart is still wide open in a world that tries to shut us down. So, instead of asking, why do I feel so much? You know, maybe we can start asking, what is this feeling trying to tell me? You know, and how can I take care of myself while honoring it? So you don't need to shrink your sensitivity, all right? You just need to support it. All right, folks, beautiful souls, my becomers. I just want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you for feeling with me, even when it's hard. All right, that's the most important, because we will never be able to heal from things unless we feel it first. So all of our trauma, we need to essentially relive it again in order to heal from it. It's so hard, you know, how the nervous system works and how it holds on to things. But, you know, healing is feeling. And most of all, thank you for not giving up on your heart and supporting me on this journey and becoming with me, my lovely becomers. Until next time, stay gentle, stay wise, and stay you. Your beautiful, authentic you. All right. So fear is the lowest frequency that you can be at, and love, everyone thought, was the highest frequency. But they have done studies that have proven that, I think it's like 1,000 times or 400 times more powerful than love, all right, is authenticity. So be your most true, authentic self, and that is when you will be at your highest vibrational frequency. And that's important, because when you're at your high vibrational frequency, you know, that's when you attract great things. So that's when, you know, the law of attraction starts being a very major part in your life. So what I want to say is, stay true to who you are and never let the world change you, okay? Until next time, folks, have an amazing, amazing day. Go get into that sunshine, because it's beautiful and it heals the soul. All right, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sunbathing. I love it. Anyways, folks, I love you all. Thank you for all your support and all your love. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you all later. If anybody has an idea or a request for a video that they want me to do, please just leave it in the comments below. I am open to request, and I would happily love doing whatever you guys want. So anyways, I'll talk to you all soon. Mwah! I love you guys so much. Bye, guys.